All right, I thought this could be an interesting idea for a video. Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. A lot has been kind of speculated about. Okay, well, great head coach, great quarterback. Here we go. But they made some interesting moves. They didn't draft a receiver with the top five pick when Malik Neighbors was on the board. They went with Joe Alt. They did draft a receiver in round two, but they're definitely kind of making more of a conscious effort to be a running team, which is something that they certainly have done in years past. We're going back in a time machine a little bit. This is 12 years ago when the Falcons and 49ers were in the NFC Championship games, and you're going to see that, it's designed to run towards the right. This is very much what, not just Jim Harbaugh, but what Greg Roman likes to do. Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers during these years, and then he eventually, he's actually now the Chargers offensive coordinator. So, same offensive coordinator. You see how this play works with the fullback kind of lead blocking. They're able to generate enough space, get into the end zone for a touchdown. Definitely some of the rushing they were able to do a really good job of. And, that's one of the benefits of having a good running offense, right? Is the rushing works. So, okay, that's something I still expect to work here in 2024. A lot has changed since then. There's no denying it. And so I guess the question of, will this still work in 2024? Will this mindset still work in 2024? Well, again, let's get into it. For one thing, something like this, where you can run plays off of the running play. That's typically kind of the argument for that run-heavy offenses will give you is like, well, it's not just the value of having a good running game. It's stuff like this, where they're going to have Kaepernick run a play action towards the left, roll out towards the bottom of the screen. You have a tight end who hopefully can get open. And as you see, that's exactly what happens. This play works exactly as designed. They're able to get a touchdown on this one. Definitely, this was a very real thing that would work for the San Francisco 49ers when Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman were there and they were, going to the Super Bowl and going to a bunch of conference championship games. But also stuff like this, where it's going to be zone coverage. It's a, quarters coverage play. But again, a lot of times you see a good amount of zone coverage when it's a run-heavy offense because it's just easier to stop the run when you have, all 11 players looking at the quarterback as opposed to when it's man coverage and half the team is looking at the guy they're supposed to cover instead of at the quarterback and don't realize the handoff has happened. San Francisco will have those two receivers run those two routes right there, but those are mostly just setup routes. You then have Vernon Davis, who's lined up as a fullback on his play. He kind of runs out to where hopefully that area has been cleared out. And as you see, when Kaepernick takes the snap, he reads his play well, quickly gets it over to Davis, and you look at how open he is. Definitely, this type of stuff can still work in 2024. It just can. To answer my question that I posted at the beginning of the video, in the middle of this video, yes, absolutely, these types of situations can work. As you see, well-thrown ball by Kaepernick, weren't quite able to get a touchdown, but gets very close to the end zone. And these are the types of things that for the Chargers, I'm sure they're very excited to see and say, like, yeah, this stuff can work. Look at the 49ers now with Kyle Shanahan and how successful this type of stuff is, or the Packers and what they do. These types of plays still work in today's NFL. They just do. But here's one I think still important detail to talk about. Let's talk about this situation. So it's zone coverage. They're going to run a play action and have a receiver run over the middle. Okay, yeah, cool. Makes sense. This is what, kind of we're talking about a run-heavy scheme and building stuff off of that. This is kind of, that 101 of you run a play action, get linebackers to move in, throw over the top of them. So Kaepernick takes a snap. The linebackers move in a little. Kaepernick is able to make this throw, and you see there's a receiver, but definitely this is tight coverage. This is, in fact, it almost looks like there's just one guy there because the Falcons player is essentially right behind the wide receiver Kaepernick is throwing to. Here's the thing about a scheme like this. When it worked in San Francisco, it's not like their receiving core was garbage. This was their listed receiving core this season, the year that they went to the Super Bowl. And you see, it's a pretty good list. Maybe not an elite list, maybe not like the greatest list you'll ever see. But, Michael Crabtree was a good receiver. That's actually the guy they're throwing to on this play. Ted Ginn Jr. was solid. You have old Randy Moss and also a young Delaney Walker, both kind of trying to, be role players essentially. But Vernon Davis and Michael Crabtree is about as good of a 1-2 combo as you're going to get. Maybe not like the top of the line for Michael Crabtree, but he was a good wide receiver for San Francisco. And as you see here, he shows why. He's able to make that tough catch in traffic. Even makes a move and gets a little bit more yards after the catch. Definitely someone who is, again, despite Richard Sherman calling him mediocre very famously, was a very good receiver for San Francisco. And we can make we'll look at San Francisco today as an argument, but they have great receivers. They have Brandon Ayuk, they have Deebo Samuel. Even Green Bay has a lot of different young guys who have, I think, played very well and run their routes very well and can make catches in traffic. Having talented receivers is still a necessary component of how this offense is run. Yes, the scheme works to maybe make it a little easier if you don't have talented receivers, but for this offense to be great, there are going to be times when you just need a guy to win. And like no better example than let's just go to a couple weeks later when the 49ers played the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Let's remember there was that big almost comeback where the 49ers have a chance to take the lead with under 2 minutes left, and a lot of people criticize them for continuously passing instead of running the ball. But part of why they're passing is you look at this situation, it's a one-on-one matchup on the outside. If they run, Baltimore's sending the house essentially. Except for Ed Reed, who is reading this play perfectly and going to get in position to try and, take away a route towards Michael Crabtree. Man, Ed Reed was so smart reading this stuff. Ed Reed's the best. But anyway, watch what happens. As you see, there was, Jim Harbaugh thought there should have been a flag here, but nevertheless, they weren't quite able to make the catch. Falls incomplete. Sometimes in football, it comes down to it's 4th and goal at the 5-yard line. Can you have a receiver win? So having talented receivers is definitely something that is still a necessary component of this offense. If we look at their receiving core on paper, they drafted Ladd McConkey, and he might end up having to be a wide receiver 1 right out of the gate, which I like Ladd McConkey, but again, he was a second-round pick, right? He's not someone that you're thinking is going to be a superstar right away, but I think he should fit the scheme well. Could be a quality player. Not sure if he'll be Michael Crabtree, at least not right away, but maybe he could be. We'll see. You have Quentin Johnston, who I loved coming out of college. He's really struggled to, successfully work at the NFL level up until this point. But hey, if he sucks year 1 and then is awesome year 2, he'd hardly be the first guy in NFL history to have that happen. So there is hope there. You didn't have DJ Chark, who I feel like every year he makes like 3 really good plays that makes you reminds you that he was an 1,000-yard receiver at one point, but you have to see consistency. Joshua Palmer, again, I like as a solid player, but not necessarily a 1. And the tight ends of Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst, and Donald Parham Jr. Again, none are terrible players. All are guys you'd like on the roster, but I don't know if either of them are stars either. So you're in a situation now where, this receiving core isn't completely devoid of talent. But to me, if I think about the ceiling of a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman style offense, I don't know if they can fully reach that ceiling with what they have just now. So do I think that the Jim Harbaugh style can still work in today's NFL? I do. I definitely do. I think this can work. They might be more than, it might be a year away. They might not get the ceiling of what this offense can do in year 1, but I could still see it working out all right in year 1. That's kind of how I view all of this. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. I do appreciate that. If you want to see more of my content, I have a movie channel. You can check that out. Link is in the description below. A lot of fun stuff on there. I have a good time with it. And there's, of course, plenty more content on this channel. I upload 3 videos a day. So, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff. But yeah, thanks.